Hello and welcome to the second Sustain It Bitesize Breakfast Briefing. Thank you very much for attending today. I hope that everybody can hear me okay and that you can see the presentation clearly. My name is Roy Bidder. I'm the Service Delivery Manager here at Sustain It, and I'll be delivering the presentation to you today. I'm joined by my colleague Joe Jones, who will be participating and will be available to answer any questions that you may have at the end.
Very quickly say hello at this point, and then I'll hand you straight back to Roy. Hi.
Thanks, Joe. So today we'll cover the points that you need to consider and also the questions that you need to answer before you start speaking to software vendors. The session will last approximately 15 to 20 minutes with 10 minutes of questions at the end. And if you have any questions during the presentation, then please use the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. So before we start, who is Sustain It? Sustain It are a sustainability data consultancy that began in 2006. We have been involved in CSR, EHS and sustainability data for nearly a decade and have helped our clients go from thinking that sustainability reporting is a good idea to actually leading the way. We've done this primarily through a dedication to data, and over the years have seen lots of problems that come with handling big data, and have learned along with our clients and continue to learn new methods and techniques regarding sustainability data. So sustainability data requirements, what is it that you need to know? The world of sustainability software is moving fast, and there are currently hundreds of systems on the market at the moment, all managing data in one form or another. With the scope of sustainability reporting expanding, the software has to be able to keep up. And one of the easiest ways to make sure that the software and the processes that you put in place stay useful and also relevant is to understand and define right from the start what it is you want and what you want to achieve.
Roy, if I can just very quickly jump in.
Yeah, of course.
Just mention something. Your screen is on pause, so you haven't actually changed slides yet.
Oh, okay, sorry, my mistake.
There you go, brilliant, thanks.
Excellent. Sorry about that, everybody. It's really important that you have a clear ambition right from the beginning. So define what you need to collect. What are you hoping to do with your CSR data? Who are the stakeholders involved? And what is it that those stakeholders want to see? These are really important questions and will essentially help you avoid collecting data for the sake of it. Knowing what you need to report on is also important, so make sure that you understand what you don't need as well as what you do need, and ensure that you report on what applies to your business. Make sure that you don't get distracted by the bells and whistles of a solution. Software developers will develop what they think that you need and what looks good, not necessarily what you actually need. And Joe, I think you wanted to add something here.
I did, yeah. I mean, this is very much from my perspective, but I think one of the most interesting things about software developers is that they have this very much, I think I would use the term magpie approach. So they will dedicate time and effort in ways that I probably couldn't, to building something that is, for want of a better term, very, very new and very, very shiny. And that's great, and it really, I think it's one of the things that's really driven innovation in sustainability software over the, over what has been quite a short period. But one of the things that you need to do when looking at the software is remember to stay focused on the functionality you need. I mean, I'm sure that my family will tell you that I am the worst person for getting distracted by something that's new and shiny. But if you understand at the start what exactly your ambition is, then really stay focused on that. Don't get too distracted by the shiny stuff, or you can go a bit awry. Okay, back to you, Roy.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a problem getting to the next slide for some reason. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So what do you currently have in place at the moment? What sustainability data is being collected? is there any data that you can utilize within your organization currently? Understanding the sustainability data that's already available to you is a vital step in your sustainability journey. So who's already collecting data within your organization, and what other departments are thinking about the data that you're interested in? If you know this, it will save you time and will also avoid duplication. Where is the data coming from? So what processes are already in place to gather or report on the data? Are members of staff within your organization already collecting the data for you? And are there any existing EMS and building management systems, active metering, human resource information, or other types of data feeds that you can utilize? And how robust is that data? So how much of the data is being used? How confident are the users in the data? And what checks and questions are being asked about the data? Remember, if the data isn't robust or accurate and there's no validation, then it will be of little use to you.
Yeah, again, from my perspective, it's important to remember that not everyone will consider that what you want is actually something that they've got. Don't forget that some people will view their data as just their data rather than as CSR data. I think one of the most interesting examples for me of that is energy managers. And it really started to hit home. I mean, last year I went to an energy management conference and the entire thing was about energy management. Nobody was talking about carbon. No one was talking about the environmental impacts. None of that was happening. And I've now seen it a few more times, and it's basically energy managers just don't consider what they do as being part of the sustainability spectrum. So if you ask them straight out, oh, we want CO2 data, you really do risk being met with just, well, we don't collect CO2 data. We don't track carbon. So you ask them instead for the energy data, and then all of a sudden you get all the information you need. I mean, they'll be able to tell you, the energy used by the floor, by the building, by the table, perhaps. So you'll get all the information you need. As far as they're concerned, you haven't actually asked them to do anything that's new or that's outside of what they would consider their normal day-to-day job. So it makes the data much easier to obtain. But by asking questions about stuff that you want in a way that it's actually something you know they already collect, it also, I think, adds to the spectrum of what you can collect, because people will be getting data already. They just won't think of it as CSR data, and that's an important consideration.
Oh, the slide seems to have disappeared. Sorry about this, everybody. Hello, Joe. Joe, can you see the slide?
I'm afraid your screen is completely black.
Oh dear. I can see a tiny bit here. I'm not quite sure where it's gone.
I'm not.
Here you go.
Now back.
Here we go. Sorry, everyone. So another thing to think about is how you will embed your data into your corporate culture. So streamline the collection and reporting process. Provide a method that makes collecting and managing the data easier than existing processes. Find an internal sustainability champion. So engage your staff, encourage them to become involved. Ensure your users are able to share the data effectively, and also allow those users to easily access the data that they're interested in instead of primarily using it at a corporate level. Make sure that the data collection process is aligned with your corporate sustainability objectives. Make sure that the data collection process remains relevant so that it can be utilized consistently, and maximizing the breadth of your data will ensure that your data is valid and usable in the future. And if you can report against corporate targets, ensure that the stakeholders involved will continue to see the value in the data that you're collecting.
Yeah, I think, again, for me, there's always a temptation with CSR data, and I think it's the same with any kind of big data project, to look at it as a closed one-way loop. So information comes in from various sources, and it's across the company, it's brilliant. But it only ever comes out as one kind of giant product. So it's almost a production line. Everything goes in one way, and it comes out at the end in one big, gigantic CSR report or set of tables or set of targets. But it's all done that way. And the great thing about a lot of the softwares that we work with, and I think there's the others that we don't work with as well, is very true as well, but it doesn't have to be that way. You got the ability to use data so broadly with systems. You know, users can have a look at reports on a monthly basis that are only relevant to them. You can have comparisons between different business functions, and you can set up little mini, competitions. Some systems will set personal challenges to individual users based on the data they're entering. So when it comes to defining where you'd like to use your data, think outside the box and be ambitious, because a lot of the systems that you're going to come into contact with will allow you to do an awful lot with that information, and it's a real tool for change because you can get people very excited about data, just like I do on a daily basis. There you go.
So understanding your requirements, two similar projects with very different final objectives. A great illustration of this for me were two projects we worked on for National Grid and Thomas Cook. From the outset, both clients had very similar challenges. Both had a broad array of sustainability data available from various sources. Both had automated systems gathering environmental data which would be required to integrate with whatever system was implemented, and both needed to be able to use the collected data to allow them to automate both internal and external reporting. The one key difference between the projects, however, was how they wanted to actually communicate the data. So for National Grid, the reports needed to be about nothing more than the accuracy of the data. For example, power generation, fugitive emissions, and also carbon intensity. All would have to be tracked to an exacting level of detail, and all of the reports involved would need to include some sort of robust statistical analysis. Contrast that requirement with the needs of Thomas Cook. Thomas Cook had similar amounts of data available. There was a very different requirement regarding reporting the data. They wanted to generate interest in sustainability. Thomas Cook have thousands of retail outlets and small-scale operations within resorts all around the world. They didn't need to create huge tables of figures. They needed a way to spark an interest in sustainability and also responsible travel within their workforce. They needed their workforce or their employees to look at the outputs and also become involved and excited about working for a sustainable travel company on their sustainability journey. So by now you might be wondering what options are there out there? Well, the answer to that is that there are hundreds of software providers out there. There are lots of different versions of data collection systems. When actually choosing a piece of software, try and go off the shelf. Don't be tempted to go down the custom route. If you do go down the custom route, it could lead to significant extra costs, complicated upgrade routes, and could become a timely exercise. Some of the providers out there offer solutions that are data related. Some of them offer solutions that are visually strong, and some require huge amounts of consultancy work. It's really important to think about where you want to expand to, future-proof your system. Understanding or having a view of where your future data collection is going will definitely help you make a choice now, and also ensure that the system that you choose is a robust one and can also withstand the test of time. Here's a screen with some of the software providers that are out there currently. No two organizations out there are the same, and each organization is usually at a different stage of their sustainability journey. So how can Sustain It help you? We have almost a decade worth of experience working with clients and across various sustainability software platforms. We have an exceptional track record of helping our clients understand, design, and also deploy appropriate sustainability reporting structures that allow them to effectively and accurately report on their overall sustainability impact. If you'd like us to help or you have any questions, then please do not hesitate to get in touch with myself or Joe. We'll be more than happy to help. This slide shows some of the clients that we currently work with or have worked with over the years. So, in conclusion, here are 3 points which I'd like you to take away with you today and also think about going forward. So, firstly, have a clear ambition right from the beginning. Define your requirements, know what it is that you want to report on, and also don't get distracted by the bells and whistles of a solution when you're choosing a piece of software. Secondly, think about what is already available. So what is currently being collected within your organization, and where is that data coming from? And also think about whether the data that you have is robust or accurate, because as I said before, if it's not, then it will be of very little use to you. And finally, future-proof your strategy and make sure that you stay on target. These are really important. Think about where it is that you want to expand to, and also ensure that the system that you choose can encompass your future goals as well as your short-term objectives. Moving to an integrated sustainability system will give you as a business or an organization a much greater ability to build and also maintain a strong approach to sustainability within your organization. Thank you very much for listening to both of us today. I will now hand you over to my colleague Joe, who spoke earlier, who will answer any questions that you may have. Hello, Joe.
Hello. Okay, so as Roy said at the start, we've got the chat window at the side of your GoToMeeting session. If you've got any questions, then please feel free to type away, and we shall go from there. So, Roy, have you got anything in so far?
Yes, I have a couple of questions for you, Joe. So the first question that I have, what type of systems will best handle integration with automated meters?
Okay, so if we dive straight into the kind of the technicality then, I guess. The great thing about software, as I think we've both alluded to, is that sustainability is quite an innovative and fast-moving landscape. So a lot of softwares already will integrate very well. Obviously, there are companies who have really pushed very hard the full kind of integration mapping with the idea that you can connect to every half-hourly meter and you can pull data from here. But the short answer is that already I think a lot of the softwares will do it. I know Credit 360 have got that up and running with a few of their clients. I know iSustain have done it. Obviously, people like Schneider Electric, their sustainability offerings are more kind of coming from already existing as sustainability, as environmental data collection process, and it's just expanding into sustainability. There's another few that are similar. So the short answer is, and it's a rubbish one really, is finding something that's going to integrate with what you've already got existing in terms of active meters and stuff like that isn't really going to be as much of a way to narrow down the software selection process as you hope, because an awful lot of them will do it, and some of them we know will do it very, very well and very, very easily. So I'm afraid the answer to that one is yeah, but a lot of them will. Okay. So
excellent. Can you see the questions, Joe?
I can see a couple of them, but I think you probably can see more. I've got one here from Ian which says, if our organization already uses a particular ERP system, how much does that restrict our choice of sustainability software? I think the short answer is very, very similar to the one I've just given you, unfortunately, Ian. Integration with software selection is something that's, or integration with other software is something that's built, that's very much borne in mind. I think there is a general understanding within sustainability software houses that what is available, or that big data is an important part. So being able to pull from other places is. So things like SAP connectors, because a lot of big corporates use SAP for their financial data and their billing and all that. So stuff like that tends to get built into systems quite early on. I know Cloud Apps is built on the Salesforce platform, so is really driven by the idea of having an integrated solution. So, yeah. again, somewhat of a rubbish answer for you. But I guess in terms of how much does it restrict your choice, not as much as you think. There we go.
Okay, I think we've got a few more questions.
We do. So we've got what systems encompass supply chain as well as operational sustainability. That's a good question, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. So certainly when I first started looking at software, which is nearly 6 years ago now, which is a little bit terrifying, a lot of what we saw in terms of sustainability software systems were environmental, just with carbon and a bit more. And it was understandable, it was natural. That was what everyone's focus was on. Everyone wanted to be able to talk about the carbon footprint of their company, of their product, of their, so on and so forth. And the great thing about carbon is it's really easy to understand, to put a number at. You can define the shape of it. As the pressures on sustainability reporting have increased, and as the width, for want of a better term, of sustainability reporting has increased, we've seen more and more expansion. So now, obviously, things like corporate citizenship have come into the mix, and you're right, the other one obviously is supply chain. I would say a lot of the softwares out there now cover supply chain to varying extents. Usually it is a separate module. So when you first start talking to softwares, make sure you drop in supply chain right at the start. But we've helped several of our clients understand the shape of their supply chain, and that's through using software. It's not through kind of using desperation spreadsheets, which I know is where most people start off with. But when you've got hundreds and sometimes thousands of suppliers, being able to pull that data in some kind of automated way is really useful. So, yeah, again, the short answer is it's something that people are expanding into quite quickly. Okay, so we've got assuming metrics creation to be flexible in any solution. Which solution would also allow easy integration of quality data on top of environment safety there? So is metrics creation to be flexible in any solution? Mostly true is the short answer on that one, Bruno. There are some systems out there that take an approach of a pick list, where you go, right, this is our system, you just choose the indicators that are appropriate to you. And for some companies, that works perfectly, and they can say, okay, we choose those. That's all of our sustainability reporting, brilliant, smashing, well done. And that, I think, will allow you to collect data and use it effectively to a point. And beyond that, then you need something else, and you need to be able to, during the implementation process, go, right, we want to have these KPIs, we want to have these KPIs, we want to compare this bit of data with this bit of data for the same part of the business last year, the year before, we want to be able to compare this bit of data with this. We want to be able to slice our data, use a weighting metric of some on production volume, on staff turnover, on financial values, on weight of something. We want to have our own indicators. So that's probably one of the first things to understand, is that some systems will take a pick list approach. Some will take you build the metrics you need, and that gives you a much greater level of flexibility. And unsurprisingly, the ones that give you complete flexibility tend to be slightly more expensive. In terms of which solution would also allow easy integration of quality data on top of environment and safety, the systems that we're starting to talk about when we talk about full customization and handling large amounts of data will usually cope with quality data as well, very well. Usually, not always. Quantitative rather than qualitative data is harder to collect. It's understanding text boxes and document management and version control. So you tend to start to head towards the higher level of the scale in terms of softwares. The best way I can describe it is it's almost like there's a pyramid of softwares, and you've got at the lower levels where functionality is more general and less specific and less customizable. Then you've got an awful lot of software. As you go up, you tend to get more functionality, and so we start to talk about things like qualitative rather than quantitative data and all other kinds of bells and whistles. The choices start to narrow. But certainly there are plenty of options out there that will do that quite nicely. I think I was considering name drops. I have, I think, Credit 360 and Enablon do it quite well. I think the new Greenstone Plus is doing some of that data pretty well as well. So there's it's not just one or two. Someone's just sent me some message in Welsh, which is lovely, but I speak very little of it, despite what my accent suggests. To what extent do you think software solutions are negating the need for in-house teams to have specific carbon accounting expertise? It's an interesting one, actually. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. So, in terms of what we do, we obviously help our clients use systems to get their data out and use them more effectively. If the system is set up well and there's a consistent and in-place management of that system that means that there's a clear workflow all the way through it and everything makes sense, then I think you can almost step back from having specific carbon accounting expertise. Technology will get you a lot of the way there, but at the same time, you still need to have some kind of human interface and sense check, and whether that's an external resource that comes in just to double check everything, or if it's an internal one, and the sustainability team are more focused on being a sustainability team than being a software implementation and management team, then who knows. I think the parallel I would use is a Google one, which is that the Google car is coming, and everyone's really excited about it, and it's going to completely reduce accidents, and you can completely trust the car. But how many people are really actually going to be that enthusiastic about driving around at 70 miles an hour on the motorway, knowing that someone behind you might not even have a steering wheel? It's going to make everyone a bit nervous. I think at this stage, you still need to have some level of expertise within the organization. I think it can be brought down a bit. I think technology and automation will help, but I still think there needs to be some kind of human sense check. Hope that makes sense. So I think that's all the ones that I can see, Roy. I don't know if you've got any more questions, but according to my clock, we've got about 3 minutes left. So maybe one more?
Yeah, I do have one more actually. Are the Vedantics reports useful in identifying a piece of software that may be suitable?
Okay, so I mean, Vedantics isn't the only one, is the first thing I'd say. There are others as well. And I think they do a very good job of kind of laying out, these are the softwares that we've looked at, and this is how we rank. I think the problem is that there's not a huge amount of nuance to what they do. And in the same way that GRI, G3 had some failings, they both take kind of a more equals better approach. So for both the Vedantics report and for the competitors, and Gartner and whatever ones there are these days, they look at what's, they make the choices of softwares, and then they take this more is better approach. So if a software does more, if it has more functionality, if it has a broader scope available to it, if it has extra bells and whistles, then it creeps up the list. And so therefore, the ones at the top of the list, so guys like SAP and Enablon, tend to be the software that has the most functionality. It also means they tend to be the softwares that cost the most. And that, I think, is the big failing. It doesn't take into account individual requirements. If you are a giant multinational corporation, if you want to collect data across environmental, health and safety, audit, if you want to gather huge amounts of supply chain data and qualitative information and all this other kinds of stuff, then Gartner reports and the Vedantics reports do quite a good job, because you are exactly their target audience. If you're smaller and for you, it's not just so much about data collection, but it's more about engagement. And in the same way that I think Thomas Cook is a good example, they wanted something that was going to be quite specific to their needs. Then I think the Gartner report, the Vedantics reports, can be a bit of a red herring. They'll lead you down quite a mainstream route that assumes that you have these requirements when actually your requirements are slightly different. So it goes back to that idea of, if you understand exactly what you need, then you can do a better job of matching what you need to what's out there on the market. So there we go. So we have now run out of time, and I am told that we're not allowed to run over time on these things. So I am going to say thank you very much to everybody. I hope you enjoyed our second Sustainability Bite-Sized Breakfast Briefing I've got the name right as well, which is
Bit of a mouthful.
it does, but it does go off done quite nicely. There will be more, so please stay tuned. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.